Facebook. Colonel, you're on my page. Tell me if you see us up on.
Yeah, we're on recording. We're good.
Okay. All right, I'll start and welcome everyone to the Portsmouth Coffee Talk Evening Edition. And we are here today. I'm here with our co-host, the Colonel, Thomas the Colonel Chapman, and yours truly, I'm James Slim Overton. And if you're missing Leah Stitt, our other important part of our team here, she's in Maryland with her daughter who has some issues and they're dealing with, but she might come on. So if she does, we certainly welcome her. But we also send prayers to whatever they're going through, and I'm sure that they'll come through fine because she's a godly woman. But anyway, welcome, and I'm so pleased today, this evening, to have someone I've been trying to get for a while, and she has agreed to come on, Alveta Williams-Ewell, and welcome, and thanks for.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been looking forward to it. And then once I saw the video put together, I was really looking forward to it. So
thank you. And I will mention too, we're all a member of Grove Baptist, Grove Church.
Yes.
The Colonel and I kind of grew up in the church, and
wow.
Yeah.
You have been there quite a while now, haven't you? When did you come to Grove? I guess.
Which one of us?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
I came to, it's probably been about, probably not as long as you guys have, but probably about 12, 15 years. I think it's been almost that long.
That's long enough to make a dent.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I will admit, literally, Grove saved my life.
Oh,
great. Grove saved my life. Seriously, the ministry at Grove totally saved my life. I kid you not.
Yeah. I think I can remember sort of the beginning days when you started coming there. You would really get full of
I was going through a lot. I really was. But the fact that I was allowed to have transparent worship for a change, it was everything for me to be able to let God love on me and heal me through some real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And you could be Alveta.
Yeah.
I
could be Alveta Williams, the ones that my parents birthed, not the one TV birthed. I could honestly be, who I really am. So that was
we were all one. But anyway, we're glad to have you here. And Alveta, well, of course, she graduated from Great Bridge High. I want to talk about that later. And did you grow up in the area of Great Bridge?
I grew up in Great Bridge. Yep.
Okay.
I grew up in Fernwood Farms. Right off of Great Bridge Boulevard. I did.
Yeah.
And
Fernwood Farms was the Cedar Grove of Chesapeake.
It was. It sure was. Fernwood Farms was the Cedar Grove. That's right, of Chesapeake.
Yeah.
Yes, my parents had quite a few friends out there.
Mine did too. Yeah, my parents and vice versa. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And went to Norfolk State University and graduated for a degree in mass communications. Was the radio station there then when you were there?
Funny thing that you should ask about that. So the radio station, I graduated in the last class of Norfolk State College. We were the class that literally wrote the bylaws and the Constitution for WNSB to go on the air. So we went to the FCC. My law classes were the ones that actually we put everything together. We went to the FCC and we got the license for the station. So my class was the one, our mass comm department. I was in the first class of the mass communications department at Norfolk State.
So yeah. It's funny to mention Norfolk State College.
Right. I graduated. Yeah. I was in the last class of Norfolk State College. Exactly.
That's like saying Hampton Institute.
It is. That was 1979.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to mention too, you were a member of Delta Sigma Theta.
I am.
Incorporated. And served at many positions in the news media, radio, starting off on radio. Well, you did that internship while you were at Norfolk State, and I guess
did.
that was a great, a great interest into the world
You
of
know,
media, local media here.
the awesome part about that was at that time, there were not that many African Americans who did internships, period. I don't think in any, in any degree. And I was one of the few and one of the first, I think, African Americans, and I got my internship at WVEC, which is now WVEC 13 News Now. I got my internship there while I was in my junior year at Norfolk State. It was a tough year because I was pledging Delta and doing my internship at the exact same time and trying to take on 18 hours.
Oh, wow. Hats off to you.
It was a lot. It was a lot. I made it though.
Came out there with all your sanity and everything.
Well, I don't know about
College can
that.
be a beast. But anyway, we want to let's get into it. And we can talk about all the other things you did and sort of follow your career. But I want to go back to your Great Bridge days, and seems like that's where your love or your interest for media, because you were sort of involved in sort of being a high school journalist back in those days. Tell us about that.
I was. My inception though I knew I wanted to be a TV reporter or anchor woman when I was 5. I knew it. I knew that I was going to. I had no idea that I couldn't. And I used to, don't laugh, but I used to stand in front of the mirror in the bathroom with a hairbrush and have a magazine in my hand, and I would just read. And that's kind of what got me started doing that at like 5 years old, because I would watch my parents, as probably everybody's parents back then, would come in. My mother and father would come in from work. My father worked for Virginia Power, which was Vepco then, and my mother was in the Chesapeake school system. And they came in about the same time in the evening. Mom would cook dinner, and we had dinner every night, 6 o'clock. Every night, 6 o'clock. And we couldn't talk during the news because my parents wanted to hear what was going on during the day. And I kept saying, oh, that's easy. I can do that. I can do that. I'm watching black and white TV where, I can do that. And little did I know, it wasn't good. The degree wasn't going to be as simple as I thought. So that was kind of, when I was a little girl. So I decided at Great Bridge that I joined the yearbook staff. I joined the newspaper. I was the citywide SCA reporter. We would go to all the high schools, and that's what I did. I reported on everything that was going on at every high school in Chesapeake at that time. So that's what really got me started. So you're right. It was.
And during those times, the integration of high schools was fairly new. I think it started in around the mid 60s. And you were there during the mid 70s. So it was like 10 years into that. I remember being in Norcom, and I came out in 72. We had just started playing Great Bridge, Western Branch, which is the Colonel's alma mater.
Y'all played
and schools
that's
like
right.
that. But
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, and we would just mock y'all off as a victory, but that's another story.
No. You could. Let's be honest. Hopefully, nobody from Great Bridge is listening right now, but you could. I was a part of the band. I was captain of the flag team at Great Bridge, and I resurrected the flag team at Great Bridge because they hadn't had one since the 60s, and I decided that's a long story why I decided it was over a guy who was in the band, but I'm
glad you did that, because flag carriers can get scholarships now to college.
Oh my goodness. Well, all right. Okay. Well, I did it. And then we used to play y'all, and we played Western Branch too, but and then the band would always travel with the football team. So we would come to Norcom and we come to Western Branch all the time.
And you had to go against that Norcom band. Oh, wow.
That was we were told not even to get off the bus until it was time for us to go ahead and do our little up and down stick marching. And then to get back on the bus. I remember sitting on the bus, looking through the window, watching, I mean, watching your band as if it literally was like FAMU. It was just, oh, I had never seen anything like that. I wanted to do that.
Mhm.
So
Let me ask this, and I'll let the Colonel get in there. You know, as far you said you had aspirations at the age of 5, and how did that continue? But I'm sure, you know, you said your parents, you had to be quiet during the news hour, and not seeing people that look like you,
Right.
you know, on the news. That,
right.
and being as young as you were, it probably didn't affect you that much. But as you got older, you said, wow, what's going on here?
Well,
Did that,
I
did
picked
that
up on
encourage
it.
you more?
Strangely enough, I picked up on it. You know, race wasn't really talked about in my home much. I mean, at all. You would. I thought everybody grew up the way I did. You know, where you did the best you could. You weren't quite sure where you measured up with everyone else, but I was always told that I could be whatever I wanted to be. It was just that, you know, and that I knew I had to work twice as hard. I did know that, you know, and I would watch. What really got me after 5, what really got me interested during the summers, my mother would give us peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at lunchtime at noon, or bologna sandwiches, and we would have to sit in front of the TV, and I watched Becky Livis on People, Places, and Things.
Yeah.
So when she looked, well, or I looked like her enough, I said, oh my goodness, I can be on TV too. You know, then, so she was my inspiration. And then after that, once I got through, you know, in college, and I'm doing my internship at WVEC, Chris Miller at that time was a reporter at WVEC, one of the few Black reporters we had, and she took me under her wing, her and a man named Kevin Brown, and they took me under their wing. And I think, as a matter of fact, I think Kevin went to Hampton too, and you know, they took me under their wing, and I could go out on stories with them, and they taught me how to write, and they taught me how to speak, and they taught me everything. So that's really how it all got started for me. You know, just I realized I could do it when I saw other people on TV doing it. Wasn't that many of us doing it, but I knew then I could because of that. Yeah.
And we're lucky that you did it, because as I traveled across the country, and and I guess there could be a study, and I look at, and this might be anecdotal information, that people of color in the news, especially at the anchor and also in the reporting, we always have, in most stations, only have one. It's like, oh, we're integrated now because we got our one.
That's all we need. That's all they would say.
And that's
so
all we need. Yes.
When a new one would come into the newsroom, it would be almost an intimidation. Am I about to get fired?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. We would always get worried back in that day. Am I about to get fired? Now it's like, bring as many as you can, you know.
Well, during this administration, because I would say during the Obama administration, people of color sort of flourished.
Yes.
Trump comes in with this skinhead white supremacy thing, and then we are no longer in fashion, and I saw the numbers go down to where we only go back to one, but we're integrated. And now that Biden has gone in, we've sort of flipped it around, and those numbers are starting to go up. You see, when you turn the channel, you'll see even the auxiliary, you know, other than the weather, we'll see a reporter of color.
Right.
And
We have the highest number of multicultural, or because the word minority is an interesting word to me, because I don't see us as a minority. I do not see us. We were labeled as minorities, but we are not minorities.
Right. That's why I say of color.
Right. Oh, no. You said exactly the way I think about it. And I mean, we're in, and we're not trying to leave. There are reasons some people are leaving the industry. That part we probably won't get into right now. But you know, there are reasons that some people are leaving the industry. But what what I do now is I'm working as hard as I can to get as many of us, the job that I have now, the career that I've transitioned into, is to get as many of us back in, on and strong and knowledgeable. You know, I mean, I work with people of all races, you know, and complexions and all, but you know, but it's very important to me to see people who look like me, and for people to realize and understand that, you know, that we've been a lot smarter, and know a lot more than we've ever been given credit for.
Yes. And our kids and grandkids need to see people of color every day, because to say, hey, we have worth and we can attain to be and out here to attain those goals, and to present the news and to present truth.
Right.
Because you won't see a lot of people of color other than say on state-run TV, what I call Fox. They have a few people of color there, but you wonder if they are of color, of real color. And but that's a whole nother story by itself.
Yeah, that's another story, completely another story by itself.
Yes, yeah. Fox is I call it Russian TV, and that's just another story there. But
being a part of the media, I'm not in a position to be able to speak on things like that, but you can.
Yes. So what that got to my question is, speaking of that, is that we talk about truth, and especially on the political side, and when we present the news and we present stories, we try to be apolitical. You know, I spent all my years in uniform, and I tried to be apolitical, which I was supposed to in uniform be apolitical. The news should be apolitical, but as I tune into which I never watch Fox, because they're just so far out there on the right, and supported by what I call the Confederates. They're just out there. And so how do you balance truth versus, if you work in, and say if you worked for that state-run TV, how do you get by that?
I've never worked for
and
them.
Want a career.
Yeah, I've never, well, first of all, you have to apply for a position first and before you get it. And so you know where you're going and what you're doing when you apply for those positions, you know.
Right.
And not to suggest that, you know, because some, you know, people apply for different reasons. And if they know that they're getting into something like that, they may even be doing it to help to change the narrative, because somebody has got to break the barriers.
Right.
The majority of us, though, it's important for us to be true to ourselves, be true to our audience, to be true to everyone who is watching and listening, and that's everybody. So we in my newsroom, when I worked at Wvec, we had a news director who would always say there were 3 different things. You had to foster the A, the B, and the C. I can't remember exactly what A and B were. One was to the audience, one was to somebody else, but fostering the C was making sure you were accountable and doing right by each other. That was what C was. And that was always important to me. Everybody mattered, everybody was included. And so you don't just strike out and decide you're going to do a story. Those stories are approved by somebody. There are 1,000,001 meetings before you go out and do stories. All of this stuff, you know, it's we have to set all of that stuff up, and we hold meetings and discuss what angles we're going to be dealing with. And so it's all orchestrated, you know. Yeah, it's definitely orchestrated. It's you know, the way it's done, we have to be non-biased. We have to give, you know, every angle there is. And those are the kinds of things we talk about in the meetings. Well, what about this? And, you know, if someone was killed, all right, well, who were their parents? Okay, what happened to them? How did this happen? Okay, you know, it's just, you know, we have to hash out every bit of it before it even gets to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. And so, and part of that is part of your education that brought out your Norfolk State education, and you've learned that. But
Yes.
as we were talking about your internships,
Mhm.
and a lot of kids out there don't understand the value of an internship. And could you talk about the value of internship? Because to me, an internship is a free look to a future employer
Mhm.
that is also a resume builder.
Yes.
When I go out there, I have just not have
Yes.
the academic piece, but I have work experience. So can you reiterate that value as an internship to your future?
If
Would
you
you
are
encourage that?
fortunate enough to get an internship, because everybody doesn't get one. So if
Right.
you're fortunate enough to be awarded an internship, I mean, yeah, you apply for it, but so many people apply for them that not everybody gets one. So they have to choose a small number of people. But once you are chosen for an internship, go in and get as much as you can. You're right. That's free experience. I'm going to tell you something that a lot of young people will do today, whether it's right, wrong, indifferent. It's today's society. Most of them want paid internships now. They don't want a free internship anymore. And so now when they start looking for internships, the internship will specifically say it's an unpaid internship. So you got to know what you're getting into before, because some of them won't take it unless it's paid.
Right.
And I mean, at that time, I took an unpaid internship to get into the industry. I didn't care if I didn't get paid. It gave me the knowledge. I said, I'll get the pay down the road. They don't care about that anymore. They want the pay now.
Yes, yes.
So,
well, but that's young folks' thought is I got to get the here and now. And when I do get the job, I want to start at mid-level at the top.
Oh, I want to start at the top.
Yes.
You don't know how many people I'm getting all the time now who are in tiny little markets who are saying to me, well, yeah, I know my contract is up in market 200. I'm looking, I call the news director in Dallas. That's market 5. Is your work ready for that? No, but you don't know that. And they feel they can attain anything at any time, but if they're not academically ready, they'll fall on their face, and they can't. A lot of them don't grasp the concept. Their thing is, I'll learn along the way. It doesn't work that way, you know. But they're not the ones listening today, so
I know. Oh yeah, I know. And if they fall along the way, say that person would goes from 20th to 5, and somebody grants them because there's some kin to something, and I let them in, but they fall, they may not ever get back up.
Right. Yeah. And then they hate the industry.
Right.
They feel the industry did that to them. No, you got in because one of the reasons that this is one thing they don't understand a lot of times. If you're coming from a tiny, very small market and you're trying to get into a higher market, sometimes they will hire you. They hire you because they see you have the potential, but they hire you for less than what they're hiring those with more experience. But you don't normally know that. You're just happy because you got into a market 5, you know? So it's an interesting dynamic to the whole thing. Trying to get them to understand that is not always easy.
Yeah, but that's part of life, is life teaching.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
Alveta, and since you mentioned the internship, it really helped because I don't see a gap between you graduating from Norfolk State and you jumping right into your career, probably because of the internship. You did that for 2 years, and you went, I see where you graduated in 79 and you started somewhere in 79.
In 79, I did.
Let's talk about that journey. And also I want you to incorporate the Hampton Roads Black media professionals, because they have been around a long time, and like that shirt. And I think last year I joined as an associate member, nowhere near professional like you.
No, but thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
I wanted to keep up and get the emails that you all sent out. But I did have an experience a long time ago. I was on the board of the Stop organization, and we used to come to the events y'all had every year. Gotcha. And what I used to like about it, you had people from competing stations.
Yes. Oh, we're all friends. That's the thing.
Come together, and you could see the love between them, or the love and respect between those professionals, even though and it was like 3 stations at one point. I mean,
right,
3
right,
main stations, now streaming and everything. But
right.
you could see people from each one of those 3 stations
Yeah.
come together,
That,
and what we didn't know is y'all were together all the time.
all the time, all the
In a
time.
lot.
We were all friends.
Mhm.
The public pits us against each other. I'd rather watch such and such because they do this, and you have your preferences to what you like. But in all honesty, we're all friends. I mean, Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals is from every every aspect of medium. We've got radio, we've got television, we've got newspaper. I mean, everybody. We're all one. And we are coming up. I'm so glad you mentioned this too, because we're coming up on our 40th anniversary for Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals. We will be doing our 40th anniversary October. Probably right now, it looks like it's probably going to be at Norfolk State. And there will be tickets for it. But we're inviting back all of the past presidents for Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals. James Wright, 40 years ago, was the chief editor at Wavy TV 10. And he recognized when he would edit his video, he would recognize that a lot of the photographers didn't know how to light or to shoot Black people. That was one of the things he noticed. There were several things he noticed in the video. Sometimes the quality of the video might not have been as good for an African-American reporter or anchor as it was for the white reporters.
Especially of doctor view.
And they didn't know how to light, browner skin, amazing, golden, gorgeous people. They just didn't know what to do with us, and they would use a light scrim, and it'd be lots of different things to do, but they didn't know how to light us. And it got frustrating for James Wright. And James said, okay, fine, I'm going to start an organization. And it became Tidewater Media Professionals, TMP. We would meet at people's houses. We would meet at Lou Paris's house. We would meet at, you name it, we would meet at their house. On a Saturday or something like that, just to get the organization started. We got it incorporated, and several years later, we renamed it Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals. So James Wright is going to be honored at the 40th anniversary for Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals in October.
Yeah, but I hope you can come back and talk. Or who's the president? I think
Lisa Godley. Lisa Godley. She's a producer.
She grew up in the Cummings neighborhood.
Yeah, yep. Right around the street from me.
Okay, she actually used to be a reporter at WTKR. She left there, and now she is a producer and host at WHRO. And she is the president. I'm the vice president. And we are always looking for more members. And we meet virtually all the time, at least once a month. We have also started the Byron Burney Community Journalism Academy. What we do, Byron Burney was, and a lot of people out there will know who Byron is. Byron was so well loved by the community. He was a chief photographer at WVEC 13 News Now for quite a long time, left there, went into the private sector, and was killed in a car accident a few years ago. Barbara Sierra and several others came up with the idea of, why don't we name a scholarship or something in his name? We started doing that, and then right at the beginning of the pandemic, right before it shut down, we started the Byron Burney Community Journalism Academy. We had our big celebration and everything, and then everything shut down. So we've been doing everything virtually. It's in the Byron Burney Community Journalism Academy, which, let's see, we had one of our team members to do the patch on this side, Byron Burney Journalism Academy. It's for students from elementary, middle, high school into college who are interested in any form of media. If you want to start a podcast, if you want to start a podcast, if you want to be a reporter, if you want to be an anchor, if you want to do graphics, if you want to be a photographer, anything in media, that's what we help you to do, free of charge. So you just sign into the meetings. we work with all of these students. And so we're always trying to get more students. So if you know of anybody who's interested, young media students, and you don't even have to be young media students, it could be, somebody, both, Tommy and James, it could be you guys. Join our meetings so that you can help to pay it forward to somebody else doing what you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
So we want to get to the high schools, to the middle schools. We want to get to them. We want to get to the colleges and universities all over the country. Join the Byron Burney Community Journalism Academy. We're teaching you for free. It's an invaluable lesson that you'll receive. We promise.
Yeah, I certainly wanted to bring that organization up because they've been doing some great work.
Thank you.
If I switch over a little bit, we've seen a lot of field reporters, anchor reporters come through over the years. And for some of them, this is a way to another means, where they can get their chops here and move on to a larger market. Or
Yes.
a lot of people I see come through here and their goal is to go back to their hometown.
Yes.
And do work. I think you and maybe, Barbara have been, I think the distinction between you and Barbara is, this Barbara Sierra I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You were homegrown and she,
and of course, Regina Mobley too. Both Regina and I are homegrown here.
I remember
Barbara is becoming more and more homegrown, I guess. She was a transplant, but she's been here for so long now that this is home for Barbara at this point, and probably will be for we've probably been in Hampton Roads longer than it was different when we joined, when we wanted to do what we were doing. Now the industry has changed tremendously. You could stay at a station 10, 20, 30 years at that time. It's not popular to do that anymore. Everybody comes in, you get 2-year contracts, maybe 3-year contracts, and you move on to a higher market at that point. So it's done very, very differently than it used to be.
Yeah, it's different now, but it seems like as soon as you start getting used to someone and
they're gone, huh?
Coming into your home, they're gone. But just the way I understand the reason, but thank God for you and Regina and Barbara for being around so long, because we gain a certain trust of, just like people used to trust Walter Cronkite. And whatever he said, whenever he delivered the news, you knew, okay, now I can believe that. Especially nowadays with all these different outlets that can spur the news any way they want to. The Colonel talked about Fox, and that's, like you said, that's another story. But it's other news outlets out here that sort of slant one way or the other, So it's refreshing to have you guys that we sort of been around a long time and still can trust what comes out of your mouth, and we can trust your integrity.
Thank you.
Because we know you're not going to sit there and do a news story, because you've been around a while now. You can push back.
The thing is, we've been doing it for so long that's a part of why Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals is so successful. The staunch ones who've been here forever are mainly the ones who are kind of leading it, and others are, who only plan to be here for at least 2 years. They're members as well, and we invite somebody, everybody else who are not members of HRBMP, that are only going to be here for a couple of years. Stop in, say hello, because we help to push them forward as well.
It must be something about Hampton Roads, because all those people I see that moved to Anita just moved to Chicago.
Yes.
And I remember somebody else, I can't think of her name. She moved to Texas, and for a while, they're still reporting, keep in contact with the Hampton Roads audience.
I'm gonna tell you, when it's home, it's home. Hampton Roads is kind of like one of those markets, and I can say that now because of the profession that I'm doing now with HD Reps. But Hampton Roads is one of those unique markets that people just come back to. There is a love for what we do here. There's a uniqueness and the capturing of just the spirits and the hearts of people. we're the largest, we have the largest military installations in the country, in the world. Tommy, you could speak to that, here, and people from everywhere come through Hampton Roads. So you get to know all the media people. So when they move and you move, you see them there. There's just that bond between the military and the media, and just the transientness of it. That, as crazy as it sounds, like it's almost an oxymoron, the transientness of it almost makes you want to stay. It becomes home for you. That's the part we love about it. It's kind of like in New Orleans. It has its own uniqueness to it. We're not New Orleans, if anybody assumed I meant that. No, but we are definitely we have a uniqueness about us here in the Hampton Roads area that I'm proud of.
I've seen people come through the military and been a part of the military press corps and end up working here. Staying here and working here for a while until they leave. But I'm sorry, Colonel, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut across.
Well, with the military, so I'll take San Diego, another big military base, Navy base. So they're unique itself, a different market. But if you live there as a reporter or a news anchor or whatever, you have a different quality of life living out there in San Diego. You were probably on the brinks of starving out there.
Yes.
And looking for whatever programs you can go down to the food bank to supplement your meals. Versus you come here on this East Coast and come here, you could do very well because we have all different income levels and it doesn't take you that much to live versus in San Diego. You've got to really have some backup in there, and it's just a different lifestyle that you have here versus San Diego, even in Chicago, New York, the big cities. And so that would draw us back here. And I traveled the country, traveled the world, and there is no other place that I'd rather live is right here. And I tell everybody that I only have one more move, and that's out the Green Lawn Cemetery. So I am not going anywhere other than right here.
So many people come here and love it, but you're right. I tell my clients all the time, and I know we'll get to that, but what I'm doing now, but I tell my clients all the time, they're like, I want to be on the West Coast. I want to do this. I want to be in LA. If you can financially provide, if they're making 70,000 there, it's poverty level.
It's poverty, yeah.
Here you could do very well with that, but on the West Coast, no.
Yeah.
It's you're not going to do as well.
Yeah. You might have to sleep in your car.
Yeah. Yeah. But you mentioned the academy though. And then I look at, at our local, and we have several universities here, and I don't see why each one that are, say, mass communication majors aren't associated or members of your academy.
We are working as hard as we can to get as many of them in, because as you think about it, every 4 years they transition out into other places, and so we work as hard as we can to get them from Elizabeth City State University, Hampton University. We work with the Scripps Howard School of Journalism, at Hampton. The students at Norfolk State, they all have their local National Association of Black Journalists chapters. So we're communicating with and working so hard to get to the presidents every single year of the university chapters to get them involved. So we've got some of them involved. We'd like to get a lot more of them involved, because that's where the future is coming from. Those are the people we want to reach, so that they can help pay it forward and help the kids in middle school and high school.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but here's the other piece, and now that we're talking, and I think that it's a good piece that for any major that's out there in college is to take some speech classes and mass comm, because you never know when you coming up throughout your career that you're going to be in front of the camera, or you're going to be in front of the boardroom.
Yes.
How to talk to get your message through.
Yes.
to articulate and what we call bottom line up front,
Yes.
bluff
Yes.
without all this other stuff, and to
Yes.
get your point across. And that's the part that mass comm majors
Yes.
like yourself.
Teaches us. We make it look easy. That's the thing.
Yes.
We make it look so easy. We do it with ease, but it is a trained skill that we're learning. The other thing I would recommend, thank you for listening to that, but to add to that, learn another language. Learn Spanish. Spanish is the second most spoken language in this country.
Right.
And learn Spanish. That is a huge selling point to be able to for you to get. You don't know how many managers will ask me, in my profession now, are they bilingual? If they're not bilingual, I can't take them. Especially like in San Diego, like on the West Coast, or if I'm sending them to Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you can't speak Spanish, you might get the job, but again, you'll get paid more. If
right.
I've got several
limited without it.
Right. You're limited without it. Now it's kind of like, in order to get into a lot of organizations, you either have to have, it's just to have a college degree isn't enough. You have to have a master's or a doctorate. It's what has happened. It's graduated to so many different levels at this point.
Well, you know what, and you mentioned higher education. I've always gone through and I've told everybody to say, as a person of color, I have to have twice as much.
Yes.
So the entry level might be the baccalaureate, but I, a person of color, have to have a master's.
Yes.
And then in my career as an Army nurse, they say, well, for me to make it to lieutenant colonel, major, whatever, I had to get a master's. So, but I said, I need to have two masters when I went out and got two masters.
Right.
Because we have to have more than
we do
to be so I can sit at the table. But that's just reality.
It is reality. It is reality. And one of, I think studies have been shown that, Black males as well, but Black women are the highest number in any ethnicity with the highest degrees. Yeah, black yeah. Females.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Black females saved our democracy in 2020.
Yes.
If they did not come out and vote, we would not have a democracy today.
Absolutely. And we have to remember that and pay that forward and raise up even more.
Yes. Because our democracy is still at risk. And as I look at 7:00 tonight, watch the January 6th hearings tonight.
Yes.
And to reiterate.
Everyone should be watching that. Everyone, for whatever reason. The last thing, let me tell you something. When I hear people say, "Oh, I don't watch that stuff," because that's just and those are the same people who aren't voting.
Yes.
This is the bottom line. It's not about being interested in politics. It's about understanding what it's really doing to our country. Good, bad, and different. You need to be knowledgeable. It's not about love or hate. It's about knowledge. So if we can get more people to understand that.
Yes. Well, even that. And then the other piece, those are the same people that are going to be complaining about everything.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The price of gas, the price of this. Yes.
About everything. And as their rights are being pulled away, stripped away from them.
Yes.
And you saw where the Congress has had to debate on Loving versus the state of Virginia. Interracial marriage. Why do we have to debate that today? Because it is having assault. The simple piece of having birth control, meaning an IUD.
You don't want to get me started on that, but
that is at risk.
Yeah.
That is at risk.
Every bit of it is at risk. There's so many things that are at risk right now. LGBTQ, abortion rights, which are coming to non-rights at this point. Making decisions about someone's body that's not yours. It's so much that that's why it's important. Oh yeah.
All birth control. They want to get rid of all birth control.
Right.
Because it's not in the originalist Constitution when it written, 200 and something years ago.
But
It
where are
wasn't
those
in
people
there.
from 200 years ago? See, that's the thing. If we don't move forward, we never you don't want to get me started. If we, if we don't move forward, we'll never, we've got to first understand where we come from. Yes, I was
Yeah.
always taught that.
Mhm.
But where are you going? And how will you know where you're going if you're not following where we are right now?
Yes, yes.
So
Indeed. Yeah, yeah, and we'd like to have you back and talk about some of those other things that you can talk about. But of course, we want you to talk about what you're doing now. But before we get into that, I always wondered, and we talked about this a little bit before we got started, those tough stories that you all have to look into the camera and give. And while we on the other side, we heard the stories coming from you and tears running down our eyes. And you have to hold that. And I know you've been involved with, over the years, a lot of tough stories where you've had to look in there and some things are murders or just unfortunate accidents or untimely deaths or just things politically that's happened.
no, I
Oh,
think, yeah, I just think he turned off his camera for a second, but
Okay. And how, I guess it's all a part of the professionalism that
how
you
do we
have
handle it?
to have, but
Yeah.
you are human and you have to,
You have to know how to balance that. And that's something else in what I do now. I help to teach young broadcasters how to balance that. I still, with humanity, you have to balance your credibility, your journalistic integrity with your humanity. You have to know how to be able to do that. Let's not forget, we're reporting on these pieces, we're anchoring and telling you these things, but some of these are our families that we're
Yes.
reporting on, that we're talking about. We're not immune to it. Most of the things that we're reporting on, somebody in our newsroom, if not us, is touched by it. I have seen stories that I'm reporting on air that it was somebody's aunt or niece that was murdered. It was somebody's son who was killed. Those are the types of things that have been difficult for us to report. The thing I love now about newsrooms, there's a huge sensitivity to all that, and we come together on a united front, and we hug. Whether it's a virtual hug, but we tell each other how much we love each other, how much we respect each other. I'm sorry for your loss. Those types of things hurt every single one of us. And it's not just a community situation. People have often said, well, they're sitting on TV, this stuff doesn't touch them. Where do you think we live? These are our families too, but we're forced but we have to treat it as if it isn't for a minute in order to get past it. I kind of, in a way, related to when I was receiving the flag for my father's military service. And to watch those handing me the flag, to watch them do what they do with such humility and depth and honor, and not cry when they hear taps, not cry. There's a level of respect that you're giving to the other person that you're serving. I think that allows you to have so much humility and professionalism when you do that. So that's the only way I can, I relate it to what they do.
Well, there's a reverence to the organization that you serve, when your father had passed, and then it makes you, and have done that flag ceremony so many times, and because that flag represents this country.
Yes.
And then and at that point, all the weight of the country is there for you and with you, and that flag is presented to you as a token of the president and the country's, for his service. and all of a sudden all that weight of the world comes down on you. And I understand that piece, because I remember when my dad passed, and having done and been on the other end of presenting that flag so many times. I mean, I had got, I could just forget about it. But then that was my father's flag, and I still have it right up here. And I had to bust out. I just couldn't hold it out no more. And I've witnessed death, as a trauma nurse,
many times, I'm sure.
Yes. And but it just makes you remember.
Yes.
And so yes. And so I know where you're at, especially as you're doing these hard stories, especially with these with murders and stuff like that. And now that we're talking, and when I graduated Norfolk State the first time, I was my first job at a nursing school was at Maryview Hospital.
Wow.
In Portsmouth. And I was the first Black male RN at that place.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
So some of my patients, I started going to their funerals that died on the floor. And I continued that when I was on active duty. After I finished Hampton, went in active, I continued that. People that, as much as I could, I would go to that family's funeral.
Wow.
Because I took care of that person, and I watched that person and that family take their last breath. And so that was my connection, and also my piece of I'm also paying back even in death to honor this person. And so I understand as you hug, because when you're with your colleagues, that weight is distributed there, and then you find strength in numbers.
Yes. And so many people's, so many times we've done stories on people, and we've done several stories on one person who's progressing, with cancer and still, trying to work and all these sorts of things, the heroic things. And then when they pass, it's the newsroom becomes silent when they announce, so-and-so who we've been doing stories on for 10, 12 years, they passed.
Yes.
In our meetings, we cry. They're family for us, So we're not removed from this. We're not removed from humanity.
And sometimes breaking story, you might get that, you might have to read that thing, right then,
Many
in
times.
real time.
That's what breaking means.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah. There have been times I've read out people's names and didn't realize until I got it out of my mouth that I knew them.
That was someone you knew. Wow.
Yeah. Several times.
As we wind down, we want to get into what you are doing now. But one other thing I want to bring attention to our audience is those 25 years that you are on the anchor desk, or more years. And people don't realize those are like 6 to 11, and then you have a family, and in between that, you might have to run to a basketball game or run
or
to
speaking engagement,
or speaking engagements. And I've been places where you might be there. Well, I have to leave because I have to be on. On news. So how that seemed like, well, you had the weekends off, but sometimes you're doing special story even on the weekends. But how was all those years of having that kind of schedule? I guess you get used to it, but most people couldn't do that because you have to fit so many things in at a time when a lot of things are happening if you have a family.
People don't realize that. You're being pulled from it, and they'll say, well, that's what you do. That's what you do. Yeah, but what you don't do, because everybody else gets the chance to spend, it's kind of like being in the military. Everybody else gets the chance to spend time with their families. You don't. People do not take that into consideration, that you're taking time away from your families. They say, well, that's what you signed up for. It doesn't keep us from being human, though.
Right. Yes.
One of the reasons I retired early was because that was me. One of the reasons I retired early was because in the whole time that I had done television, I had never once gotten the opportunity to tuck my kids in bed at night. Something that's so hugely important, not only for me, but for my children. I did the 6. I would come home and, work with them, help them do homework, on my dinner break. come back and have to be back there before 9 o'clock so that, because we had taping things to do that went along with the newscast at 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
And then I would do the 11. Of course, my kids were in bed by then, and I'd get home and I would kiss them, but they never even knew that I touched them.
Mhm.
I'd get up at 6 the next morning, and get them on a bus. And then I would take a nap again and then get back up, about 10 o'clock. So people would say, oh, goodness, 10 o'clock, you slept till 10 o'clock. And I'm like, so you're why. So I'll never forget. Someone once said, yeah, but you forget that you're watching me on the news through your big toe, your big toe and your middle toe, while you're with your feet propped up in the air and you're watching that TV.
Yeah.
One open,
We're
one
live.
out, one closed.
Right, one eye open and one eye closed, and we are completely alert. It's normally 2 or 3 o'clock before we get to bed.
Mhm.
So it's what we signed up for, but it doesn't make us any different than anybody
Yes.
else.
Mhm.
So.
Do you think it's any different now? Now you can get the news 24 hours a day now. You still think that the 6, 11 to 12 noon still relevant to people that
Oh yeah.
that-
And I think, and that's the reason why we do it. They're adding more newscasts across the country, locally, everything, because we're also competing with online now. We're competing with everybody who's virtual now. We're competing with that cell phone, that people are walking down the street just texting and watching and looking for news on that cell phone. We're competing with podcasts. We're competing with every genre of media. And so we have to up our game as well. Most people aren't even watching TV anymore. They are literally on that phone or on their tablet all the time. And so we're competing with that sort of thing. So yeah, that's why we're having to add more newscasts, because CNN is 24 hours, MSNBC is 24 hours. Newsy is now, I think they're 24 hours. So, they're the networks that are 24 hours. And I think, you know what, that I think started during 9/11. If I'm not mistaken, that when people started going around the clock, that was because when the planes crashed into the towers, everybody wanted to remember and know. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and they would switch out after 6 hours of anchors, and you get new information. Yeah.
Local news to me is like local voting. It affects you directly.
Yes, it does.
That's why local news is so important.
It's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you.
Something going on next door to you, and you need to know. Yeah. Anyway, before we go, let us know, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. You've been doing it for quite a while, because I thought when you retired.
Most people thought that. No, when I left Wavy, I wasn't completely sure what I was going to do, but I knew I wasn't completely done. I knew that I love this industry so much that I wanted to somehow pay it forward, but I didn't even think about the fact that I could get paid for doing that. So what I do now, I am the vice president of HD Reps. It's a media talent agency, basically, or a media agency out of Dallas. They were the ones who actually represented me when I was on TV. They, not only negotiated my salary, but helped me to become a much stronger broadcaster. And so that's what I do right now. I push young broadcasters forward and help to elevate them into markets all over the world, not just all over the country. We have clients all over the world, and doing, and most of them don't start in a market as high as Norfolk. They start in Ottumwa, Iowa, which is market 200 or 201. I take people from places like that, or I will, and help to elevate them and to help them to get stronger and better, and to move them into markets that will help to not only pay them more money, but give them a sense of credibility and stability in doing what they want to do. They start in small markets, but I bring them a lot of times from small markets into larger markets. But I also take people from larger markets, and another thing, and move them into larger markets. But they're also a lot of the news places that people are losing their jobs. So I take a lot of them who are out of work and put them back to work in this industry. So it's a lot. I love doing it. I mentor young people here in the Hampton Roads area, but I also have mentees across the country as well. So
But
that's what I do.
And you also have time for yourself and your grown children. You know, you got to make
Yes.
them. Shout out to them.
Yes. My babies are oh goodness, they're in their 30s now. They're grown babies now. They obviously living on their own, doing their own thing. I am so proud of both of them. They're still in the Hampton Roads area. They're both doing exceptionally well. I am blessed and highly favored. I'm thankful. I really am.
We kind of watched them grow up too.
Yeah,
And one thing I forgot to mention before we go, and this is so important, especially to the Colonel and myself, you are also a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yes. I don't care how many times we lose. I am going to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I've been a Cowboys fan since Tony Dorsett was a first-round draft pick. It's just it's who I've always been. I've got a Dorsett jersey too.
Well, since you mentioned Tony Dorsett, the guy that made that block for him when he ran that 99-yard touchdown is from Hampton Roads and was in school with me at Virginia Union. So,
wow.
And when he did that, ever since then, I've been a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Wow.
Because I knew someone that played for Dallas and that made it special.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had to bring that up because that's so important, especially in this area we are in.
Yeah.
But I have one question.
Yes.
One question. Is this a misnomer about age discrimination in news media, especially if you're in television?
Age discrimination going in which direction?
As getting more mature, not getting older, but more mature.
That's a good way to put it. The tough part about it is, young people are the ones who are making the money now. They're the ones who are buying the advertising and the revenue. And so a lot of times they bring the fresh look in, not apologizing for it, or not taking up for it in any sense of the word. I mean, if it wasn't for the career that I'm in now, paying it forward, I probably wouldn't have a job either. Would I be able to get back into television right now? Probably not. Get on TV right now? Probably not. Am I, a lot of times you're just too old, and it's sad that we are. But the one thing I'm thankful for is, and that's something else we're trying to turn around. We have so much more knowledge and strength, at this age. But it's kind of like, people love looking at the younger people on the air. They just do, I don't know that they're as well respected as we are, but they are the generation of the future. I've looked at it as age discrimination in the past, and I do understand exactly where you're coming from, for sure. But I think there's a place for all of us. I do have people on my roster that are my age that I'm looking for jobs for. I do. Is it easy? No. To get them one, as it is for the younger people? No. I can't make a manager hire somebody, knowing their age, but I also tout their ability to get it across. I tout their wisdom. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it's not a lie. It is the truth. We have the wisdom and the know-how and the integrity that a lot of young people are still learning. So there's a place for every single one of us.
Well
Thank
put.
you for asking that. Yeah.
Just like the Black News Network that came and went, and I see now Byron Allen has bought that for significantly less than what the original guy put into. Like, he put 100 million and Byron got it for 11. Hopefully he can, I think they said on the front end, they pay too much money on the front end trying to get the anchors. So,
and I knew a lot of the owners, that were owning Black News Channel. Why it went under, I guess we're still trying to figure that out. but when I saw that Byron Allen bought it, I have some clients who are in Byron Allen Media right now, and they're doing very, very well. And he's buying up stations. He's gobbling up stations. I am so happy to see Byron Allen buying stations and becoming a real leader in this broadcast industry, in owning stations. This is a huge deal for us. And so we've got to get behind him and support him. So I take a lot of his clients and help to move them up in market size. But I commend him so much for doing this to give young people a chance. That means a lot.
And
Yes.
And it's a lot to go around, but your last statement, how important is it for us to try to support Black media? Because a lot of times news that might be important to us might not reach the airways where, so it's kind of important for us to support the Black media.
It's very important. It's very important. One of the things that our industry is doing now, I mean, when all the political uprising and then the death of George Floyd, we were forced. This country was forced. I call George Floyd the modern day Jesus. That's what I see, because he didn't want to die, but he had to die to save others. And we're no longer going to allow a knee on anybody's neck anymore. And so there are becoming more mandates to make sure that we're represented in stronger numbers. So we're not as far behind as we were, but we've still got a long way to go to get more of us in. So it's very important. People need to understand who we are, or who we've always been. That's been the misconception. There would be times, and we're not going to belabor the point because we're going over time, but we could just go on and on. I know, but there were times I would pitch stories, and they wanted to do a political angle on it, and I would suggest a professor from Norfolk State or from Hampton to do it, and they would always say, "No, we're gonna get somebody from ODU. This is who we've always gotten, and this is what we're gonna do." And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and now we have professors, in economics and historians and all from our HBCUs who are representing now. And I kept pushing, and it's happening.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that, because we often use professors from Norfolk State and other universities to talk about issues, because they study human behavior, and we need to bring this. Some cities should take advantage of those universities that have those majors.
Absolutely.
And they have those students that are studying it. The
They
cities
used to not look at our degrees as being as strong at HBCUs. They did not look at our degrees as being as strong. There would be times we didn't even, back in the 60s and 70s, you didn't even put it on your resume that you attended an HBCU, which wasn't called HBCU at that time, but you didn't put it on your resume because you knew you weren't going to get picked.
Right.
Now it's, look, I'm beholding the green and the gold every single day. I'm happy about it. I'm thankful for it.
It's a badge of honor. Yes.
It's a huge badge of honor. I had to make a decision as to whether I was going to wear my Hampton Roads Black Media shirt today, my Delta Sigma Theta shirt today, or my Behold shirt today. It was a decision. I didn't have one with all three, so I came up with all the colors in the earring.
You representing all the colors there.
Everything. It's a diaspora. So
you'll get a chance to come back and represent those groups. We definitely want you to come back, and maybe Lisa Godley will come back as well to promote or to talk about,
we would love to.
Event that the Hampton Roads Black media professionals are having. I think
let us know when you want us back. You have us. That's a
well, thank you. We appreciate that. And before, I didn't know if Colonel had any closing statements.
No, I'd just like to thank you for coming on and joining us, spending the time and giving those words of wisdom and everything that you've imparted on our listeners. And it's been great.
Thank you. I've enjoyed every second of it. I was looking forward to it. And I look forward to me and Lisa coming back. Whatever route you guys want to take, we're there for you. We promise.
I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for agreeing to come on and your busy schedule and just having a little chat with us. I
Thank you.
told you it was going to be informal and more a conversation,
Yeah.
you know, between friends.
That's what
So,
I'm used to. That's
Yeah.
that's the best part. When it's rehearsed, you
yeah,
know,
sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't go as well, but
right. So thank you.
okay, thank you. We really appreciate it. And take care. And Colonel, I don't have my cup, but could you hold it up
That's
for
right.
us? Because Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice and our community.
In our future.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. We appreciate it. And thanks everybody for watching. And Leah, we love you. And we're praying for you and your daughter's full recovery. So take care. We'll see you next time when you get back. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Let me. Now we have that. Now we have that awkward moment where we sit here and wait for.
You're still, you're
Yeah,
still
we're still recording.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm getting ready. Okay.